Hello and welcome to another episode of the Solo Grognard. And my name is Eric. So today I'm going to talk about this game, Arctic Front. So this is a game module for the Third World War game series, which was put out by GDW, Game Designers Workshop, back in the mid 1980s. This is the third game in the series, and it's an interesting one because of the fact that, for me anyways, this is a real rarity for me to have any Third World War series unpunched, unplayed and all that. The Third World War game series I have a history with it. It's a game system that I absolutely love. I've been playing it ever since it came out. Well, since I bought it, I should say, because it came out in '83. The original game did. I started playing it. I bought it about '87 or '88. I think it was about 1987. I got it and I played it to death. I'll tell you more about that perhaps in another episode, but suffice it for now, I like this game system. This is one game I have not actually punched, however. So a quick look at the box itself. It's the normal Game Designer box, pretty standard, pretty small, thin. Sort of a lot like their other games that they have put out. The back. It's all very reasonable. It's not amazing graphics or amazing art. Actually, the art's a little on the cheesy side of anything, but it does a job. It gets the point across as to what the game's about. So overall, nothing really what I would call remarkable about it. So inside the box, we have the map sheets. Now these map sheets are neat because of the fact that they are, as far as Wargame map sheets go, they're quite small. They are have a small profile overall, and because of that, it makes it a lot easier to keep the whole game manageable when you're playing the different chunks without having to have a huge game space. At the same time, they're also all compatible with each other for each game module. And this comes with two map sheets of this size, so put the two together, it roughly equals a normal Wargame size map sheet. So it doesn't have a huge profile, or footprint rather, on your game table, so it's quite nice and manageable. It covers Scandinavia, so you have Norway, Sweden, here Finland, you have more of Finland on the next map here. So that's the southern part, this is the northern part. And again, Norway, Sweden, Finland, and here you have what used to be the Soviet Union. So basically this particular game covers what the game designers expected a conventional version of World War III to look like in the Arctic front, being Scandinavia. So I haven't played the game yet, however my experience with the previous games and what I know of the game system and how I, just looking at the situation with this game, it's going to basically cover how the Soviets are going to be able to knock out Norway, because Norway is the only actual NATO country in this whole group here. And in order to be able to do it properly, I mean, without invading any of the neighbors, they can just do it straight through here, and there's that and perhaps probably air mobile assaults. Maybe marine assaults as well, but that is a little less likely, I would suspect. So it sort of goes a little bit into the geopolitical aspect of it, in the sense that then the Soviet has to make a decision. Are they going to invade Finland, which is neutral, in order to open up a larger front here? Or are they also going to go on and invade Sweden as well, which is an even larger task most likely, but it'll give the Soviet a whole lot more room to maneuver as they try and take out Norway. So that looks like the strategic situation there. So those are the maps. Let's have a quick look at counters next. Standard counter sheet. Oops, upside down. Standard counter sheet. Nice, fairly easy to read, well, mostly easy to read counters and everything. Neat thing with the Third World War game system is the fact that it has so many nationalities that are covered, but at the same time every one of them is color coded in such a way that it's fairly easy to tell which one's which just by looking at the coloring, and this is no different. The Soviets are actually the worst of all of them to see, especially with my now aging eyes. Black print on dark red background is not really the easiest. It's not really the best choice, I don't think, but oh hey, if you're at the time I bought this thing, a later teenage years, or if you're, as the publishers probably were, in their 30s, that's fine. But now, in my current age, as I rapidly approach my dotage, it becomes a bit more problematic. But it's still okay. There are worse out there. All the others are fine. So that would be the Soviets. Just looking at it, I would say that appears to be the Finnish army here. I gather that is going to be the Norwegian. This white here looks like it's probably Swedish. And then you have these gray ones here. These gray ones are a little different. They are more generic coloring to represent the various other NATO allies. All these counters, by the way, are actually included in the more normal national colors in other games. I think it's in the original Third World War game system, if I remember correctly. And then there you'll have your green, black on green Americans, white on brown Canadians, and you have your black on tan British, UK, and then also your units there as well. And then you also have all the game system counters, and the cool thing is all the game system counters in all the games that belong to the Third World War game system are all identical and the same, so yeah, you can just put them all in a single bag for the whole game system. You can just sort of throw them all together and they'll be all in one place. And it keeps it a bit tidier, I think, when it comes to getting your system counters out there. Yeah, just in real general terms, you have interdiction counters, you have hit counters, which is what these are. You have city destruction counters, and you have other system counters as well. Really quick thing on the units. The units are generally of brigade or division level sizing. It's primarily a ground game. The air game is there, and it's somewhat detailed and somewhat abstracted, both at the same time. It's certainly there. It's abstracted enough to keep it quite manageable, but at the same time it is detailed enough to really maintain a certain flavor that you're having a real air campaign. The ground units themselves have fairly standard 3 values on them, numeric values, so You have the normal attack and defense factor. The last factor is not movement, which is the one thing that's not the same. That last factor there represents the proficiency. So that is really important, and potentially in many respects even more important than the attack or defense value, because the proficiency of a unit makes a huge difference when conducting combat. It also makes a higher number, gives a unit a combat bonus, either attacking or defending, and it also gives it a greater amount of resiliency in taking losses as well. And that is something that is really, really cool. So those are the counters. The rest of the material, you have the individual sheets here, so these are briefing notes. I really liked the briefing notes that they included. It had a lot of information that I thought really, really interesting at the time, because when I bought these games, the concept of a Third World War it seemed possible. So because of that, I was interested in this subject a lot, because of the fact that the more I knew about it, the more I could sort of understand the situation. That was sort of my thinking at the time, and that's why it really fascinated me. So I really liked the briefing notes, and I still do. I think they're quite interesting, even from a retrospective perspective. Yeah, I don't alliterate. The next one here, errata. So some other, and also changes in terms of any changes in the game system itself between this one and other previous entries of the Third World War game system. So that's a little cheat sheet there for veteran users. Rulebook, super plain. So it is Spartan as can be, functional as can be. It is nothing pretty about it at all, but at the same time it's fairly logical in the way it's set out, so I don't really have any complaints about the rules book. It's not that big really, but it's fairly concise and fairly detailed. It doesn't leave a lot, I found, in my opinion anyways, it doesn't leave a lot that's ambiguous. It was 14 pages. No illustrations, you notice, so that's Game Designer Workshop for you. This is their various keys. So this is the unit identification key. So in lieu of putting that information in the rule book like other games, they put it on this sheet here, so it explains the counters and the unit types, system counters as well, and terrain effects chart. And your charts and tables sheet here, your CRT, combat results table, and all sorts of other stuff. And finally, you have a little slip of paper. Well, actually, it's mild cardboard. That really mild cardboard of different notations here on what the different terrain means on the maps. So that's a different range of terrain you may come across in the game. And finally, well, actually not finally, I also have this little catalog highlighting some of the other games, so the Third World War and Southern Front. At this point in time, the fourth one didn't come out yet, which was the Persian Gulf. Oh, actually no, it does show the Persian Gulf right there. So I guess this sheet must have come out, this must be a second printing or something perhaps. Some other things. This is errata from 1985. These little doodads here are the air game displays. So basically all the air combat basically happens on these two little displays here. Very simple, very abstract looking, but the fact that all the air units are marked and you have the different aircraft types and everything, it does add a lot to the overall feel and ambiance of the game. The game is pretty Spartan. Now it's last, certainly not least, and I always consider these sort of little doodads to be part of the interest of any game that I have, and that is the little response card. So the Game Designers Workshop, any comments and all that sort of thing for their own edification and how much you like the game. Don't think there's any point in me filling that out right now. Don't think it will reach Frank Chadwick or any other guys who used to be at Game Designers Workshop, which is too bad. It was a really good company. Had a lot of interesting and cool games. In a nutshell, that's those are the game components for Arctic Front, the Battle for Normandy. Battle for Norway, sorry. Different campaign, different decade altogether. In any case, the components overall, as you can see, are fairly Spartan. It is professional. The game pieces themselves, like the maps, are fairly colorful. The counters they're actually reasonably colorful and nicely laid out and everything. It all is reasonably attractive. The colors again are not garish at all. It's actually fairly subdued, but at the same time, it's done in a way that's all quite reasonable. The one thing though with the components that I find is again the rules book and a lot of the other non-immediate game materials, not involving the map or the counters. They are super plain, super functional. Well, plain as in just, well, plain. There's no other way to put it. They basically look like they're photocopy sheets and stapled together. So they're fairly, you can tell it's a bit of a budget piece there, but at the same time they did put a fair bit of effort in making sure that the counters and the maps look nice, which is really, especially for this time, the early mid-80s, it was all quite reasonable. And it certainly doesn't detract from the game. It certainly doesn't for me. It didn't at that time, and it still doesn't. I still play this system on occasion. Obviously, I haven't played this one yet, and being the bit of the OCD person that I am reluctant to punch those counters as much as I would like to play the game. But at the same time, it's not just that. It's also a matter of space as well. I don't have a huge amount of space, so it's not like I can set up the whole game system, which is actually really quite huge. So but at the same time I will play this at some point. It's just a matter of when. If you come across this game, by all means get it, or for that matter any other Third World War game series. I highly recommend it if you have any level of interest in the subject. And because of the fact that it's overall a good game system, the components, if you can look past the components as well, that's of course another thing. It's not at the level of current GMT games, or even at the time up to Avalon Hill standards, but it really doesn't detract from the enjoyment of it. So I would recommend getting it if it interests you at all. It is not a cheap system. It is in high demand for sure. I was really lucked out when I got this one. I got this one, I guess about 10 years ago. And I was really fortunate because of the fact that I got it at a really good price on an auction. So if you do find it at a reasonable price, by all means, get it. My name is Eric for the solo Grognard. thank you very much for watching. If you do like this video, please stick around and have a look at some of my other videos as well. And subscribe to my channel. I will be doing some more deboxing, game reviews eventually, as well as game replays or after action reports as time allows me to play the games as well. Thank you very much, and I hope to be able to see you here on this channel again soon.